we have, I want you to take a look at this and think in your mind what each might mean to you. Community needs and resources. What kind of things does this tell you? Where the community is in terms of its income, population, age, employment, and it's very interesting because when you think about this, what comes to mind is the need for government services and the capacity to provide it is inversely related to what that community is. So the more, for instance, if you have a community which has socioeconomic factors which aren't that great, what is its need for services? And what is its capacity to provide it? Do you see do you see it? It's a very interesting fact that we see is that, communities like that, they have very high needs, but they have very low capacity to provide those needs. So, these are some of the things that come up. And intergovernmental constraints. What are intergovernmental constraints? Let me give you a quick example. In New Jersey, towns cannot raise their taxes by more than 2% each year. That was one of the things Governor Christie did. He said, you know what? You can't raise your taxes more than 2%. Okay. Disaster risk potential for, so if you live in a shore community, well, there is a disaster risk, right, that you're involved with. Political culture. Now, this is interesting. And I don't mean to really get into the politics of things, but let me ask you a question. If you're buying a home in a community which was the mayors and council and everyone was totally Republican, and then you had a community where the governing board and everyone else was Democratic. And now I'm not making any broad inferences, and please don't take it that way. But who would be more susceptible to not raising taxes? He's politically correct, because he said both, right? But if you look at the history, right, basically what you find is that depending on the political affiliation, some communities they don't want to do anything in terms of in any way raising taxes. Now, when you don't do that, what happens? Well, there are service cuts, right? And, people might respond and say, well, that will make them more efficient in the way they provide services. So that's what that means, political culture there, okay? External economic conditions, which is, it's not always what happens locally, it's also what happens nationally that might impact you. Organizational factors is basically how the management acts. There are managers who are very